Here we have a sad math question. Okay, let's go with the question. A scientist counts 80 cells in a petri dish and finds that each one splits into two new cells every hour. How many cells are in the petri dish after 5 hours? Okay, this problem can be solved manually, or we can use exponential growth formula. Okay, let's try to solve this problem manually. Okay, let me assume T as time and A as the number of petri cells, number of cells in the petri dish. Okay, so when I take T is equal to 0, that represents the initial time. So that initially, how many cells do we have in the petri dish? So according to the question, we have 80 cells initially in the petri dish. So when T is equal to 0, so A equals to 80 because we have assumed A as the number of cells in the petri dish. Okay, if I take T is equal to 1, so that represents a 1 hour from the beginning. So the question says each one splits into two new cells every hour. So in 1 hour, each cell splits into two new cells. So these 80 cells will split into how many cells in 1 hour? So it's very simple. It's 260. That is, it will become 2 times of itself in 1 hour. So we have to multiply this quantity by 2. Then I'm getting 160. So in 1 hour, there will be 160 cells in the petri dish. Okay. So what will be the number of petri cells in 2 hours? Again, it will become 2 times of it itself. So 160 times 2 will be 320. When T is equal to 3, just multiply this 320 by 2. So it becomes 640 because every hour each one splits into new cells. So like when I increase the time from 2 to 3 hours, so these 320 cells will split into, each one of these 320 cells will split into two new cells. So the 320 cells will become 640. Okay, now when T is equal to 4, so 2 times of this 640, it will become 1280. Okay, when T is equal to 5, so we have to multiply this 1280 by 2. So we'll be getting 2560. So we have to find the number of cells in the petri dish after 5 hours. So after 5 hours, so there are 2560 cells in the petri dish. Okay, so we have done this problem manually. So how can we use the exponential growth formula to solve this one? Okay, first let me write the exponential growth formula. So that is y equals to a times b to the power t. So here a is the initial amount, b is the growth factor. So in this case, the value of a is 80 because initially we have 80 cells in the petri dish. So we can plug in 80 for a. And so b is the growth factor. So every hour it's doubling the number of cells because each one splits into two new cells. Every hour it's doubling. So that is every hour the number of petri cells becomes 2 times of itself. So the growth factor is t to the power t. Here the t, the unit of this time t in hours because the question says, in the question we have the time in hours. Okay, for example, if I plug in t is equal to 0, then value of y will be the number of cells at the initial stage. So if I plug in t is equal to 0, what will happen? So I have 2 to the power 0. 2 to the power 0 is 1. 1 times 80 is 80. But our aim is to find the number of cells in the petri dish after 5 hours. So what value should I plug in for this t? I have to plug in t is equal to 5. So to find the number of cells in the petri dish after 5 hours. So 80 times 2 to the 5th power. So y is equal to 80 times. So the value of 2 to the 5th power is 32. And when I multiply 80 by 32, I'll be getting 2560. So after 5 hours, the number of cells in the petri dish are 2560. So the answer for this question is 2560.